Hey everybody, it's Deborah Razzo here from the Women's Real Estate Network, WREN, and I'm here with actually one of my favorite people, Jennie Steed. Hey Jennie!
Hi Deborah, how are you doing today?
I'm great, other than being stuck in LA traffic sometimes. It sucks, but that's okay. You don't have that problem. Jennie is from Utah, and we happen to meet in a variety of circumstances, but it was like my chance meeting that really like benefited me. I had heard a lot of information about Paradigm Life, and that's the place that Jennie works at and represents. And I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about the really incredible things that she does. So Jennie, why don't you just give a little intro here?
Sure. So I'm a wealth strategist here at Paradigm Life. So at our core, we're a life insurance company. And I would also be what I would call your tax therapist. So one of the things that I love to help you do is get a divorce from the IRS. So not everybody thinks divorce is a good thing, but divorcing the IRS is a wonderful thing. So I want to help you get a divorce from the IRS, eliminate taxes, and keep as much of your income as you possibly can so that you can retire comfortably or whatever your goals are. One of our core strategies, or our actual core strategy here, uses investment grade whole life insurance contracts. And within those contracts, what they do is help you accelerate the growth of your savings as well as protect you against loss. And that's huge. So when structured and used properly, the perpetual wealth strategy or these policies will be the foundation from which all of your financial decisions will stem from. So I do a pretty complete financial education and teach this entire strategy, and I'm able to teach my clients how to have every dollar really do at least 2 to 3 jobs at the same time.
Okay, and that's what I love about you, right? There's a couple things that I love about Paradigm and what you guys teach and what you specifically teach, Jennie. And that is, first of all, your online education is amazing. And for those of you that maybe don't quite understand the product that Jennie is talking about, and that's like me, by the way, because it took me a while to understand and grasp the concept of what it is that she was promoting and how it helps you, right? I mean, and that's the part. And well, that, and I always wanted a wealth strategist. And why not have a tax therapist right along with that?
Absolutely.
That's the truth, right?
Yeah.
If you want your money to go somewhere and make a lot more money for you, and you want to do it in a way that's tax savings, then this is definitely a product that you should look into. And I'm just going to tell you, I mean, I consider myself okay intelligent-wise, and it took me a while to grasp the concept of how this worked, just because I think it's a very different concept that I had never been exposed to. And yet when I started in my wealth strategizing, I think it's been about 5 years now that Jennie and I have been doing business together.
Yep.
When I started it, I still was like, okay, I kind of get how this works. And you know what? I'm going to just liken it to something else that I think a lot of people can relate to. And there was a long time ago when I first started in real estate, and somebody told me equity happens, right? And I thought, okay, I believe it, but I just don't exactly know how it happens. But after you have rental properties for quite some time, and you have your renters paying down your rent, and you have your mortgage being reduced, and you have some appreciation happening, guess what? Equity happens. Well, with these wealth strategies, it's kind of like equity happens. And then you get into it and you're a few years down and you're like, oh my gosh, this has grown. Oh my gosh, this is a powerful tool. It's really cool. And it can be used in so many different ways. So Jennie, you get the bird's eye view of how this is used. Why don't you give us, an idea of how you've seen it used, maybe the most common way, and maybe how you've seen it used in a more unique fashion?
Sure. So in the most common ways, the majority of my clients are actually real estate investors. And that ties into a lot of the reasons that this fits in is because capital. You need capital, down payments or whatever, typically to purchase real estate. The other problem is when that capital is sitting idle in between investment opportunities, it kind of makes me lose sleep at night. And I imagine it does for you too. So having that money just sit idly in a savings account is a huge problem. So what I teach people is how to create a foundation in which they can store their capital. And when an opportunity arises, they can now deploy that capital into the real estate investment, for example. And the beautiful part is when that capital is deployed, you have this wonderful cash flowing asset. And at the same time, you're achieving uninterrupted compounding growth inside of your whole life policy. So what you have is your dollars remaining working in your policy, and it's being utilized for those properties. So you're buying income and you're accumulating assets, or as Deborah just said, equity happens.
Right.
So the combination of those two leads to some pretty staggering results in the long term, especially when you look at it in the 10, 20, 30-year time frame, which is the time frame most of us are active in our investing, maybe even longer than that. Those differences are quite staggering.
Yeah. And you know what, as somebody who kind of got into this a little later in life, I'm super glad that I did when I did it. I wish I had done it earlier. And, you know, I'm educating my kids on this now, because the longer that you're in this, the more capital you have to deploy as well as staying and working for you. It's like having $2 in one. And and I think that's probably why the concept was so hard for me to understand. But once I'm actually in it and equity is happening, right? Then it's amazing. And I actually just recently deployed some of the capital that I had, and it was really funny. I'm like, wow, it's easy to access.
Yep.
I get to deploy the capital, and there's no tax ramifications to it, which is incredible. And it doesn't show up on all my credits for my loan as an additional loan. So as investors out there, you know, when we're trying to qualify for yet another property, everybody's looking at our debt to income ratio, right?
Yep.
How would it be to be able to have something not show up there? I love it. I'm just going to tell you that. That's how it is for me. So it's incredible the way that it can be used and deployed. Tell me another way that people might use this, in a creative fashion. Because obviously, and by the way, I love that you guys also specialize in real estate investments.
Yeah. So some of the other creative ways is I have a small amount of clients who like to do peer-to-peer lending. So that's just more of their wheelhouse. So that's one avenue that I've seen it work really well. Also hard money lending, syndicated real estate. I know that's still in the real estate realm, but they're businesses. Business owners, one of the biggest issues that they face is having access to capital. And so what I find a lot of the times is they've got a lot of capital sitting in a savings account for that rainy day, because let's face it, we don't know what the economy is going to bring in a business. That can lead to some pretty devastating results if we don't have access to capital, but then it's sitting idly doing next to nothing. So for business owners, it's huge where they have guaranteed access to that capital. And again, when they do access it to grow their business, then they're not interrupting the compounding growth. So those are some ways. My daughter has used her policy for her first car. I taught her how to be her own bank right out the gate. And being a new car owner, if she were to go to the bank, I taught her to treat her money the same way a bank would have you treat their money, or as you and I both know, that's actually our money anyway at the bank, right?
Right.
But I taught her how to treat herself right. And so she is paying back her loan against her policy at a higher interest rate, being accountable to that money. So that's another way she's able to utilize it. I've taught a lot of times there's kids with high interest rate credit cards, and then there's parents who have this cash value life insurance. So they'll typically give the kids a loan to pay off those high interest credit cards, and then they can charge a spread on that loan, but the kids still save a ton of money on interest.
Right.
And if they don't end up paying that money back at the end of the day, then first of all, they're not getting a loan again from mom and dad. But second of all, they're not going to get it as a part of their inheritance. So those are some additional creative ways that I've seen people use it. I mean, I have a gentleman just recently bought an RV, paid for his RV with his policy. What's cool is he found out that if he rents out his RV for 13 days per year, then he can write off that loan. So he's renting it out for more than the payments on the RV, and he's getting uninterrupted compounding on the growth of his money inside of his policy.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as you can tell, this policy is super versatile. Like I love the peer-to-peer lending. I hadn't thought about that. That's actually really cool.
Yeah.
So
a hands-off approach.
Right. Yeah, it's very good. So why don't you just tell everybody how to get in contact with you?
So the best way to reach me is my website, jenniesteed.com, www.jenniesteed.com. Inside of that, you can also get access to our book, Heads I Win, Tails You Lose. That's a free ebook. So download that. I highly recommend it. It's a book about reigniting the American dream. Patrick Donahoe, the founder and CEO of Paradigm Life, wrote that book to serve our clients, to you, to everybody, because our big mission is to change the way people operate inside of their own personal financial economies. And if they understand how and have a guide to do that, that's why I do what I do, then their chances of success are much greater. So that's the best way to get a hold of me. My email address, phone number, all that is there, and you can sign up for a free consultation.
Cool. So go to jenniesteed.com, and if you are interested, I highly recommend their online education. You can take it at your own pace, and then Jenny's there to explain all the concepts if there is something that you don't understand. But I've got to tell you that online education really explains itself well. So thank you so much, Jenny, for not only being like such a beautiful woman in the real estate realm, but also being a great sponsor for WREN, and always a supporter, and always a supporter of women and empowering them. And thank you for continuing that effort.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you.